Hi, everyone. I thought I would do a lesson on more Greek issues that helps us in our studies. And this doesn't require you to know Greek, it just requires you to read and compare similar texts and then make your own decision. So, this is entitled When Greek Idioms Mandate Adding a Word in an English Translation. And we're going to use the illustration of John 18:37, which I had an interesting discussion with a commentator on our YouTube. So I was having a discussion with a friend, a person who's commenting on the channel, that did Jesus become king before his ascension? The dispensationalists like to say Jesus never became king while on earth, and I used as a proof text that he was already king. That when Jesus was asked by Pilate, "Are you king?" he said, "Yes, correctly, I am a king." And I referred to a version of the Bible that was just like the NKJV. So let's listen to how that reads, and you'll see the word rightly is italicized in this Bible, so it's correctly disclosing it's an add-on word. The question is it correct to add the word on in this situation? The good thing is the NKJV is disclosing to you that it's added. So let's read it. Therefore, Pilate said to him, this is John 18:37. Pilate therefore said to him, "Are you a king then?" Jesus answered, "You say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice." However, there are alternate versions that don't have the word rightly and just simply read it exactly as it reads in Greek. So you're reading here, the next version doesn't have the word rightly inserted, and it's correct literally. But is it correct semantically? Meaning, is the semantic idiom reflected? Is there an idiom going on here? Meaning, an expression that a Greek speaker would recognize that we, as an English speaker, would not literally recognize. And I'll explain that later. So, in AKJV, the Authorized King James, Pilate therefore said unto him, "Art thou a king then?" Jesus answered, "Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Every one that is of the truth hears my voice." So in theory, this is ambiguous, I would say. Some people would even say you could read into it, he's saying, "Yes, I'm a king. Thou say I am a king." Or he could be saying, "Thou say I'm a king." Like, thanks for saying it, but it's not really necessarily true. So that's a possibility. So that both possibilities are true. How do we know which one is which? And there is a way of learning. But I want to now present Antonio. He presented his argument. So let's listen to what he says, and then I'll give you my. So here's Antonio. Hi, Doug. Your post says John 18:37 in the NAS and the Weymouth and the God's Word all say, "Therefore Pilate said to him, Then you are a king." Jesus answered, "You say correctly that I am a king." And then he's quoting me, he's still quoting me. Gill's commentary, Jesus answered, "Thou sayest that I am a king," and which was very rightly said. And Christ by these words owns and confesses that he was one. So Gill's commentary actually not only adds the word in rightly, it adds the word very rightly said, and then Gill makes his own comment that Christ by these words owns and confesses that he was one, that he was a king. And so I was arguing that proves that Jesus had already become king before he ascended, and therefore you can't claim that his kingdom didn't exist, and therefore his rule, his commandments don't apply until some future kingdom comes back to earth, which is the dispensational argument. So whether Jesus's words still apply today may depend upon how you read this verse. So you see how important this can be. So this is not a small little issue. So Antonio is getting rid of all of Jesus' commands on the basis that he wasn't a king. We don't have to listen to him until he comes back. Then these commandments will come back. That's the dispensational argument. So here's what he then says, and it means Antonio speaking now. My answer is the word in capital letters above the word correctly does not exist in the Greek. It was inserted by the translators. Be consistent, Doug. You yourself teach that punctuation and added words change the meaning of a sentence. You were teaching this in a video yesterday about the thief on the cross and Paul blaspheming Jesus. Now, just to be correct, I didn't say when you add a word, it always causes a change of meaning. It can change the meaning, or it can actually be the correct meaning. So we're going to see an example today that, yes, sometimes adding a word is necessary to reflect the true meaning. And we'll show you a proof that this is the true meaning in a second. So then Antonio goes, so the correct translation is, "You say that I am a king." And he means by that, You say that I'm a king, but I'm not really a king. Okay, so let's see if Antonio's argument stands up. Hi, Antonio. Thanks for writing. This is me writing back, Antonio. If you remove the present punctuation and mentally use different punctuation, you will see a different potential meaning. This is mentioned in Ellicott's commentary for the English readers. It reads, "Thou sayest that I am a king." So that's how it reads now. Or he says, Ellicott, "Perhaps thou sayest, semicolon, for I am a king." And then he says, compare Matthew 26:25. So what he's trying to say is you have the exact same words without adding any words, but using punctuation, you would then come out that he's saying, thou said it, I am a king, for I am a king. So that's interesting that you don't need even to need to add words. You just need to have a mental punctuation. That's important because we're going to have to make it clear in English, we're going to have to add a word. But you could see just punctuating it or using emphasis in your verbal speech, you would know if you were a Greek person, you know this could be said, thou said it, I am a king, for I am a king. So you see, it's just a matter of, if you're a Greek speaker, how you would understand the emphasis and the way it would be spoken. But for us, we have to change it around. So this is what I next say. Antonio, the latter is the actual intended sense, but this can be done by adding correctly or rightly to convey the idiomatic meaning. For Ellicott's reference to Matthew 26:25 underscores how to read John 18, verse 37. Using Matthew 26:25, we can see that without adding punctuation, but adding a word like rightly or correctly to convey the intended sense of those words, we can convey the intended idiom. We read in Matthew 26:25, "Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, You said it, or you have said." Jesus says, "You said it" in Matthew 26:5, just as Jesus says to Pilate in John 18:37. Is Jesus in either case simply saying, "You say so, but it is not necessarily so"? The answer is no. "You say so" is a way of expressing agreement. Clearly, this is true in Matthew 26:25. Jesus letting Judas know that Jesus knew what he was up to, but was going to not fight him. Hence, Jesus' statement in John 18, verse 37 is expressing agreement. So some Bibles say or add rightly or correctly to signify the idiom. "You said it" in Greek thus means clearly more than it does in English. It means you are correct in what you just said. In English, we could say, "You said it, brother." And the word brother proves it is an agreement and not merely you say it, but it is not necessarily so. So an example is the New King James where it says rightly is in italics. And I put there rightly in italics. Pilate therefore said to him, "Are you a king then?" Jesus answered, "You say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born. For this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice." John 18:37. We go to the next slide. But with thoughtful reflection, this addition is clearly correct. Thus, let's address your conclusion, Antonio's prior comment. So he wrote, "The correct translation is, you say that I am a king." In other words, Jesus confessed nothing from his own lips, like Gill's commentary says. So I respond to that now with all that prior data. Yes, a literal translation of the words are, you say that I am a you say that I'm a king. But the idiom proven present by Matthew 26:25 justifies adding rightly or correctly to John 18:37 as the KJV has. So here we have a very important question. Was Jesus a king before he ascended? If he is, his words still matter. If he was never a king and never accomplished anything, which is the dispensational argument of Paulinists, then Jesus' words don't apply. So this is not a small issue. So each one of you have to decide, am I correctly defending that Jesus is a king, that he even himself said so? Or do you accept what Antonio is saying is because it doesn't use the word rightly or correctly, he's not going to accept that that's the meaning. So let's just go back again to what is the verse that proves the idiom. It's when Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, "Master, is it I?" He said unto him, Jesus said unto him, "You said it. You have said." So therefore, the way Jesus said that was to say, you are correct, that it is you, Judas. You're the one who would betray me. He's not saying, It could be you. You said so, but it might not be you. That's not what he's doing. He's pinpointing in and letting him know in a conversation that was being overheard by Matthew at least, or maybe John on his right next to him, and that's relayed back to Matthew. Is he's saying, yes, you are the one who will betray me. So that's what makes sense in the context. And therefore, we know this is an idiom. So if I said you said it in Greek, it means I'm saying what you just said is true. And actually, I want to show you something that I think that when I think it's Ellicott, right? Ellicott is saying that you could say, Ellicott's commentary says you could say, perhaps it's thou say it, for I am a king, is correct, because the idiom is just from the words thou say it. So if you look at the Matthew 26 reference, he just says you have said, just like up here it says thou say it. So, or thou said it. So you see, this is the idiom all by itself, and what's happening here in the John 18:37 is all Jesus had to say in John 18:37 was you said it, or you say it. And then to emphasize the point that he's agreeing with him, he says, "For I am a king." So the punctuation isn't the key thing. The punctuation helps you understand that the words "thou say it" or "sayest" in old-fashioned English is the same as saying "you're right," and then he then emphasizes it by saying, "For I am a king." So John 18:37 is even more emphatic than we realize. You don't even need the word correctly. I think this is actually the most accurate way of doing it. In fact, what I would do is just put a period there for thou say it, period, for I am a king, period. So you always, by the way, even though there's no original punctuation, we have to put punctuation in English. We don't have run-on sentences. We put periods to ends to, we put periods when thoughts have ended. So I think it is correct, or semicolon to show a thought has ended. I indeed think this is where this thought ends. Thou say, and for I am a king. And that's what it's really saying in John 18:37, just like Matthew 26:25. That same thou say it or sayest is right here in right here. Thou hast said, thou said. See, that's the same thing. So I think it's overwhelmingly true. And here's what the point of this is if you get into a dispensational debate and they're going to claim Jesus wasn't king, your proof is you cite John 18:37, but you need to know how to handle this. They're going to say, well, there's no, if you're using the NKJV or something like that, they're going to do exactly what Antonio said. Well, it doesn't actually have that word there. And you need to be prepared to say the actual meaning of the text is, thou say it, for I am a king. Two expressions. You don't even need the word rightly or correctly. You just say, we do have to make decisions about punctuation. We do have to finally say where the thought ends. And the thought began and ended when Jesus said, thou say, or sayest in Old English, for I am a king. And that's what I would do. That's how I'm going to do it in the future. But the alternative is you can cite to people the passages or the sources that say rightly or correctly to help make the point clear to the reader. But it's really more accurate, I think, to say the way Ellicott provides as a possible way of alternatively saying the same thing. Okay, I hope that helps everybody understand that words do sometimes have to be added, or I would say here you could actually have punctuated this in a way that would convey the meaning of the idiom. Thou say it, for I am a king.